Let's come back to East Africa now, and that story we promised you from KTN's Solomon Serwanja, and it's about the South Sudanese opposition leader, Dr. Riek Machar, who has said he will not return to Juba to form a unity government unless President Salva Kiir rescinds his decision to create 18 new states in the country. Machar has asked Uganda's president to put pressure on President Salva Kiir to fully implement the August 2015 peace agreement. Now, he was speaking at a news conference in Kampala today, and he also responded to a leaked report from a UN monitoring panel saying that an arms embargo should be placed on all sides in the South Sudan conflict.
A dark cloud hovers over the implementation of the South Sudan peace deal that was signed between rebel leader Dr. Riek Machar and President Salva Kiir in August last year. This follows the move by President Salva Kiir to dissolve the nation's 10 regional states, creating 28 new states, an issue that could be a setback. In fact, South Sudan's first vice president designate, who also doubles as the leader of the SPLM in opposition, Dr. Riek Machar, is in Uganda, raising concerns about the matter with President Yoweri Museveni. While addressing a press conference in the capital Kampala, Dr. Riek Machar made known his stand on the creation of the new states.
The issue of 28 states, we see it as a violation to the agreement, and we also see it impeding the drafting of the transitional constitution, because the agreement should be incorporated into the current constitution, and after that the formation of the transitional government of national unity.
Dr. Machar fears that the creation of the states could slide the fragile nation into an ethnic tension that could lead the country back into bloodshed.
I was 21, but I was rebuked by all the leaders in IGAD not to raise this issue. After all, no money in the Republic of South Sudan. Two, they wanted it for wider discussion.
The rather calm Machar also accused his rival President Salva Kiir of violating the peace agreement and called for the intervention of both the regional and international agencies to intervene in the matter.
We have done our part. The region, the JMAC, Africa, Peace and Security Council, UN Security Council will show us the way.
The peace agreement President Salva Kiir signed with the opposition leader Dr. Riek Machar and other stakeholders deferred the case of federalism and the creation of more states to the constitutional court-making process during a transitional period. Since the signing of the peace deal, Dr. Machar has declined to return to Juba, even though President Kiir has since extended an olive branch.
If I went to Juba now, what will I go and do? Complain? Get restricted not to come to Kampala? Now Kampala will be your home to me these days. No. Once these important procedures are done, I want to go back to Juba. I'm in South Sudan.
Dr. Riek Machar is also demanding for the lifting of the state of emergency that prohibits the movement of people, especially those from his side. His comments come as the deadline given by the regional bodies to form a coalition government by January 22nd, 2016 passed. Solomon Serwanja, KTN News, Kampala, Uganda.
All right, and Solomon Serwanja joins me now live from Kampala, Uganda, with some more analysis on this, what it means, and indeed just how long Dr. Riek Machar intends to stay in Uganda. He said he's staying put until President Salva Kiir rescinds his decision on the creation of the new state. Solomon?
Well, for now, for Vice President Riek Machar is is just in Uganda and he intends to make it home until when everything is set to go back to Juba. He did mention to us today during the press conference. But maybe more analysis on the issue. I'm joined by David Purkor, who is a regional security analyst, joining us tonight on Bottomline East Africa to just put this in perspective for us. Thank you so much for joining us, David. Well, let's take it on. Riek Machar saying that he cannot go back to Juba before everything is set. And he highlights a very key important issue of the creation of the 28 new states. What does this mean for the peace agreement?
Solomon and viewers, there are 4 sticking issues at the moment at the twist and turn of this peace process. There are 4 sticking issues. One of them is what you've just nailed on the head. That is the one dealing with the creation of the 28 districts. So 28 counties, states. So during the Addis Ababa Accord, Riek Machar group brought the idea of 21 states. And for them, they wanted to turn the old districts into states with the clear boundaries, because there are demarcations, the beacons are there, and so the survey in the old days is there. But Salva Kiir group opposed it. And when they opposed it, so the international community, the IGAD Plus prevailed on Riek Machar to drop the idea of 21, because they say there's no money to implement such an ambitious scheme.
And yet Salva Kiir introduces 28.
What was surprising here is, on coming back, so everybody agreed on the 10, that peace is more important. Let's get the peace first, and then when we go through this transition, then we now go to increase the number of states. Now, so let's get the peace first. That was the mood, and that was the spirit in Addis Ababa. Now, when Salva Kiir came home, to throw a spanner in the works, as a spoiler, to delay the implementation of the peace agreement. So he decided now to create 28 states, and it has affected a number of states because it is not following the old traditional boundaries. Like, for example, the Shilluk Kingdom is split into 2. Actually, it's badly mutilated. And the people on the ground are really up in arms because you're chopping their kingdom. Again, Bentui is another area which is affected. Nasir is affected. So definitely, much as there are some people who are celebrating, and say catch-22 for some people, whether in the G10 or in the Kiir or some of the... But then Machar is coming under pressure from senior commanders that if you agree to the creation of these 28 states, which is not following all traditional boundaries, it's splitting communities, it's tribalizing the issues, then you'll go to Juba alone and will not be with you. Well, so that is one of the sticking issues.
Well, another sticking issue that he did raise is that it's unconstitutional that President Salva Kiir did not go through the right measures of going through parliament and the states being approved. He just woke up and went on national TV and he says, I've brought 28 new states. So Riek Machar is demanding that it should be constitutional in nature for it to be accepted.
Yeah, but even then, which constitution? For it to bind those who are just coming in now. You cannot use the existing constitution now because that's one of the sticking issues, the constitution. They need to come out with an interim constitution, which brings the Addis Ababa Accord and transplants it and modifies the existing constitution and so that the provisions in the Addis Ababa Agreement should now be made part of the constitution. So that constitution is the one to be used to swear these guys in. You cannot use the existing one. So the problem with Salva Kiir and his team now, they are running the country according to the gospel of Bashir. Okay, that's how when they were in the north, that's what they have known for all these years, by decree.
Please do remember to stay with KTN News, where you get the whole story all day tomorrow. We will be live from Eldoret here in Kenya with that trip. We have 3 heads of state. That's Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta, Somalia's President, and Nigeria's President as well, paying a tribute to the soldiers who were killed in El Ade in Somalia. So stay with us for more on that. And of course, also extended coverage on President Buhari's visit to the country. It's a 3-day state visit. They'll be discussing matters of trade, regional security, climate change, and economic development. Let's go up north now. Egyptians have been marking 5 years after the popular uprising that led to the ouster of autocratic leader Hosni Mubarak, leading to a change in Egypt's political landscape. The event was commemorated amid tightened security and closure of cultural centers in fear of fresh reprisals. Ashley Mazuri has more.
In 2011, Egypt underwent an uprising that marked the end of Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. 5 years down the line, there are no celebrations to mark the uprising against Mubarak due to events that followed in 2013, leading to the death of hundreds of Egyptians. The fast democratic elections held after the revolt saw the Muslim Brotherhood, Egypt's oldest Islamist movement, emerge from the shadows to dominate both parliament and presidency. Liberal and leftist activists moved to depose the Brotherhood soon found themselves on the wrong side with the new authorities, which now flagged protests against former President Mohamed Morsi. New laws were passed curbing protests and expanding the jurisdiction of military courts. Al-Sisi went on to win a presidential poll with almost 98% of the vote. And adding on to Egypt's troubles is the toughest security crackdown faced in Cairo. While many Egyptians view Sisi as the strongman who saved the country from religious fascism, he no longer enjoys the reverence he once did. Most Egyptians are now actively in opposition to Sisi, but are tired of confronting what human rights groups say is an increasingly ruthless state. Townhouse Art Gallery and Merit Publishing House are just some of the places that were raided or shut down by security forces in the weeks leading up to the anniversary. Mohammed Hashem, the owner of Merit, compared the current government's tactics to those used by the Muslim Brotherhood.
We will continue to play our part. We will continue to dream of freedom for our people from all types of oppression and all types of discrimination from both religious and military fascism. We will continue to voice our beliefs that there is no point in oppressing the people or oppressing their freedoms under any slogan, religious, national, or political. It's not right to accuse those who dream of a revolution and freedom for the Egyptian people and those who participated in January the 25th and our nation's big dream of national treason, which is similar to how the Brotherhood accuses of betraying religion.
Analysts and activists say the crackdown revealed an insecurity that has grown since the general turned President Sisi ousted the Muslim Brotherhood from power 2 years ago. And with thousands of government opponents behind bars, there was no likelihood of major protests to mark the anniversary. Ashley Mazuri, KTN News.
And so with that, I would like to give you my final thoughts here on Bottomline East Africa. Now, Egypt commemorates 5 years since the uprising that toppled Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. Countries in East Africa are going through elections over the next 2 years or so. Tanzania has just concluded her election. Uganda prepares for its own next month, while Kenya, Rwanda, the DRC, and indeed the Congo as well, all await their turn in the next year or so. We have also seen the results of third-termism in Burundi. All of this as we grapple with the definition of democracy in an African context. So are there any lessons to be learned from the Egypt uprising? Did it bring about democracy or disorder? People's power was touted as the most important aspect of the uprising. What is clear is that while the people can rise up against what they term an oppressive regime, they must have a clear goal in mind. So, the questions like what next after toppling a regime? How does one translate all that rage into positive long-term change? Also, it's important to note that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. What works in one country may not work in others. The outcomes in Tunisia are very different from Egypt and Libya. You can't predict an outcome. So, 5 years on, many in Egypt remain disillusioned. In fact, Amnesty International has warned that Egypt is, quote, mired in a human rights crisis of huge proportions. So with that in mind, we might want to be careful about how we handle regimes we may be unhappy with here in East Africa. Many have said that all that needs to happen in Burundi, for instance, is for the citizens to rise up. Well, in light of the events in Egypt 5 years later, we may need to be cautious about copy-pasting ideas from one situation and indeed from one country to another. That tonight is the bottom line. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. We value all your feedback. Bottomline EA is the hashtag to use. Good night, East Africa from KTN's News Center in Nairobi. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matola.